It's that time of the year to buy gifts. And I'm guilty of shopping too. But if you're getting ready to swipe your credit card again and start 2025 in the red, don't do it. Personally, I don't know any successful company that thinks it's okay to start the first quarter in the red, owing money, and neither should you. Welcome to episode number 8. With just 13 days left before Christmas, I spent the day shopping and wrapping some of the gifts that I had with me. And I thought that we should make the word of the day money. It's on my list of the 30 things that I want to talk about. But today, it has been a lot on my mind just because I saw a lot of people shopping, a lot of people using their credit cards. And if you're about to go do some shopping, before you swipe that credit card, I want you to know something. There isn't a successful company in this world that thinks it's okay to start their first quarter in debt. And neither should you. I think one of the biggest flexes for women is to be able to secure the bag. I especially think that's important if you are a single mother. Now, I'm not going to come here and say that I was never broke, that I was never in a pinch, and that I've always managed my finances the way that I should. When I was younger, I used to spend all my money. I never paid my bills on time. I had bad credit. So I know what it's like to come from that end of the spectrum to where I am today. And it took a lot of discipline, right? And it took, not swiping my credit card every time that I wanted something. And I was doing a little shopping today and I was just watching people, men, kids, moms, just everyone, swiping cards for everything. And it made me wonder of those people that are going into debt right now buying gifts that they can't afford. And it made me sad. First of all, Christmas is not about that. And if you spend a lot of time with your family during the year, if you dedicate time to your family, you will realize that no amount of gifts in Christmas is better than the memories that you've built, through the years with your families. But we get so swallowed up with marketing and media that we forget that, we forget that it's not about the gifts, but it's important to have the conversations. Like last year, we went all out with the gifts. The Christmas tree looked like it vomited gifts. But coming into the season this year, I already knew that that's not something that I wanted to do again. And quite frankly, it's not something that we do often. We did it last year. I had a lot to celebrate, just health-wise and just things that I was thankful for. And I was feeling very generous with my daughters, and I just spoiled them to the moon and back. But that's not typically what I do, and I did it because I had the money. I used my credit card to buy one expensive item, but everything else I paid for cash. And typically, all our gifts I pay for with money that I have budgeted for that purpose. I don't put it on credit. I'm not paying interest on gifts. But it's important to have those conversations, right? Like I said, this year going into Christmas, we all knew that we didn't want to do that again. And so we decided to do a Secret Santa. We set a budget for a Secret Santa, and everybody's buying gifts according to, that budget. And we're all very happy doing it. And I wish that more families spoke about that, because I don't see what the joy is in buying crazy amounts of gifts and then waking up January 1st and you're in debt and you're bitter and you're paying this off for months, and it just really doesn't make sense. And I wish that people spoke about that more. Like, I sat down with the girls and I was like, listen, we're not spending that kind of money this year because I have different goals for 2025. The girls also have different goals for 2025. They want to start investing. They want to buy property. I want to do the same thing with them. We want to set up an LLC, our trust. And so for 2025, we've all of us, my daughters and I, we've already looked at our budget and we know what we're doing with our money. And so it didn't make sense for us to spend a lot of money with gifts, on things that are frivolous. They're just passing things. It doesn't make sense to spend $1,000 or more in gifts every year when you can use that money to invest it and make more money. And I think those are the kind of conversations that moms need to be having with their kids. When I first started living with the girls alone, I used to budget by myself, right? I was always looking at, what needed to be paid in advance. And I decided early on that I would get them involved in those conversations because I didn't want them to have a negative relationship or with money. I didn't want them to have a bad relationship with money. I grew up thinking, not really understanding the value of money, not understanding that it's a currency of energy, just a different type of energy, and it comes and goes, but you need to use it wisely, right? And to use it mostly to work for you. But from when the girls were very early on, I used to talk to them about money. I used to say, okay, well, these are the bills for the month. This is what I have to spend. This is the money that I can give to you guys. When the girls were little, they used to love to go to Dunkin' Donuts. They used to love going to Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks all the time. And I love Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks too. But then, I was like, we're wasting too much money on coffee. I mean, it was it was ridiculous. It was well over $200 a month in Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks. And so I changed that. I said, well, we're going to get a Dunkin' Donuts card and I'm going to put $35-$40 a month on that card. And that's the only money that you guys have for Dunkin' Donuts. You can spend it all in 1 week or you can spread it out through the entire month. But when you spend it, it's gone and it will not be replenished until the beginning of the next month. And so they learned, to budget themselves. And they don't look as budget as something limiting. They look at it as a tool to achieve their goals. And I think that when you're living alone with your kids, it's important to have those conversations with them. It's important for them to know where the money is going. It's important to know that, yes, they can ask you for things, but they need to be budgeted. Like when I was growing up and I would ask my parents for something, the chances that I would get it were slim to none. And even when I would get it, it would be like months had passed that had asked for this ages ago. I had already forgotten about it. You know what I mean? Because they never had any money. And so that was actually one of my biggest fears when I first started living alone with my daughters. I'm like, I don't want to experience that ever again. And I 100% don't want my daughters to grow up that way. And one of the ways that I was able to squash my fears around that is just having a plan for myself that I also shared with them. So for example, they knew that they could ask me for anything, but it needed to be planned. So if they said, Mommy, I need $50 for this, I would say, okay, of course. Let's see when do you need the $50 was the first question, right? And then I would say, okay, I can give it to you on this day. And when that day came around, they had their money. So that's something that I never messed around with. My daughters knew that if they worked with me and they waited patiently, that they would be rewarded for that trust. And I think that more families need to do that. And they need to do that around everything. And in particular, they need to do it also around Christmas. Christmas is not about the gifts. We have been misled to believe by, the brands and commerce and everything that it is about the gifts. But if you neglect your family all year long, the 20 minutes, 30 minutes that they spend sitting in the living room opening gifts is not enough to erase all that neglect, right? And so now you've spent your money on something that logically makes no sense, and now you're starting the new year in debt. I don't want that for you. If you're watching this video, I want you to know that money can be a positive thing within your family, between you and your kids. You just need to talk about it, and you need to see it in a different light. And you need to have frank conversations with your kids about gifts and, what's worth it and what's not worth it. And the truth is that if you do things with your kids throughout the entire year, right? Like, I'll come home from work and I'll bring the girls like a little chocolate, a little flower, a little cupcake, or whatever, anything. Like, if you treat your kids like that all the time, come Christmas, it's not going to be like any different, because they're already used to being treated, a certain way. You don't have to like make up for a year worth of neglect in one day, is what I'm saying. Another reason why I think it's worth to change the narrative around Christmas and gift giving is because you're perpetuating this toxic cycle to your kids, and it's just going to keep going. I think that we are responsible for changing things, and nothing will change if we don't. It's not going to be easy. It might be uncomfortable. You might get some pushback. And you know what's even crazy? Like, there are other families that are going through the same thing, but nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody thinks that you're supposed to just flood the house with gifts that you can't afford, because that's what Christmas is about. And that if you don't do it, people are going to be talking about you. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody is paying attention to you that way. And the people that love you, I promise you, I do not want my family to go in debt giving me gifts. I wouldn't want that for my friends. I wouldn't want that for anyone. It's, again, being open, being frank about money, and not being afraid to talk about it. I mean, honestly, just like filters down. The biggest flex around money for me has been just being able to provide for my daughters. Just being able to give them a life that I never had growing up means so much to me. Like, so much more than a million gifts could possibly mean. And when I hear my daughters say to their friends, my mom's great, I love my mom, she's the best, I know that I've done things right. If I hadn't made the sacrifices and the changes that I've done to raise my daughters the way that I have around everything, around relationships, money, communication, integrity, character, all that stuff, we wouldn't be where we are today. But all of those things require frank conversations. It requires change. It requires discipline. It requires intention, thought, planning, execution. Money is extremely important, and I hate to say it, we can't live without it. So it's very important that we not squander it. And we especially shouldn't be squandering it in the last month of the year. Like, it makes absolutely no sense to start the beginning of your year broke. That's awful. I've been there before too. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So please don't set yourself up for failure, and don't teach your kids to set themselves up for failure, because they are watching and they are learning. It's not what you say, it's what you do that matters the most. And the ultimate flex for me right now that I'm experiencing and I'm really enjoying is that my eldest daughter is 23 and my little one is 17. and we can have intelligent conversations around money, and we can talk about building wealth for ourselves and our future generations. If I hadn't raised them the way that I had, if I hadn't changed my own beliefs around money, I wouldn't be having those conversations with them. So you can have the same thing too. So that's it for today's video. I want to wish you a very happy holiday season. I hope you're enjoying the time with your family, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.